Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. And good evening again. How are you? How are you? How are you? Now, I am Big Meach, and this is a Big Meach moment. Okay. Usually, normally, and most of the time, I would come through with a whole dishing tea. I didn't do one yesterday because honey, I'm getting to the point now to where if I'm not really feeling it, I'm not going to do it. Okay. And I told y'all that before yesterday. Well, all this week has been a week of campaigning and canvassing and carrying on. And it has really been exhausting because this heat has been completely unbearable. Okay. And you're talking about I'm going, and this is just only in my complex. Okay. There's 42 buildings in my complex. And we're going up and downstairs, and I'm, talking to folks and leaving my cards and stuff on doors and all that kind of stuff. So it has really been exhausting. Okay. So when I tell you it has taken everything in me to keep my strength together, this is why. All right. And then of course, tomorrow I go back to work, right? I've had a week off, vacation time that I had to take so I wouldn't lose it. And so now we have to go back to the donut factory starting tomorrow. Hmm, okay. But in any event, what I wanted to talk with you about for just a few moments, some things that are on my desk via the news and things of that nature. And I titled this, What Are We Afraid of These Days? Why does education scare people? I'm going to ask that one more time. What are we afraid of these days? And why does education scare people? Hmm? We've got so much flat going on with our educational system. It is not enough that teachers are underpaid. It's not enough that we don't have enough black and brown teachers in the school system. It is not enough that we don't have a lot of black and brown male teachers within the school system. Okay. Um, and I'm going to say this, I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say this as well. It is not enough that we don't have enough black and brown heterosexual men in the school system. And I stress that point for a reason. I'm going to come back to that momentarily. Okay. We already are dealing with a number of deficiencies. And then on top of it, we are now in this whole egregious understanding that books of all things, need to be banned from school systems, from school libraries. You're trying to have everything age appropriate or whatever the case may be. And some of the arguments behind it, I can get. I understand age appropriateness. I understand content, you know, sensitive content. Let me put it that way. I understand that. But we are in a world now to where it seems as though everything is being scrutinized. And one of the things that I love, in fact, I wanted to play, I was going to play that video, but I couldn't find it right about now. Um, Everybody claiming that they want to do away with books that talk about, certain issues and certain this and certain that. And oh my God, oh my God. And I have a clip, it's on YouTube somewhere, where a guy is at a Trump rally. And he goes around and he asks the folks, he said, well, you said that books that's containing this and this and this and this and this ought to be banned from the libraries and from schools. Well, what about a book that has this and 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 this? And the guy was like, oh, because eventually what he was getting at was it was the Bible. Okay. And so many of you who are already on that bandwagon, well, they done already took the Bibles out of school. I say no, they didn't. What they did was they made it to where you're not supposed to lead with that. Okay. That's not supposed to be the text from which you're coming from in an educational facility. And y'all heard me say this on here before. You couldn't tell me not to bring a Bible to school if that was my faith, because hell, at one point I was passing them out. I know when I was going down to Wayne State University, they were passing out testaments and things at the schools. Okay. We've said this before on here, but I'm perplexed when it comes down to uh, understanding why the ban is necessary. Okay. And it always seems as though ban on books become necessary when it starts talking about Black history. And now all of a sudden to say Black history is divisive. To say Black history and to say African American history studies or whatever, that there becomes divisive now. When back when I was a kid, we had to fight for Black history, and we had to fight for our Black History Week, which then became Black History Month in the month of February. We had to fight for it because you still want to spoon feed us what is supposedly history. Okay. Now, when all the books that are documenting what Black history is, the stuff that is documented, the stuff that has been proven, the stuff that comes from, and here, the stuff that comes from non-melanated agencies, okay? All this stuff to where it chronicalizes all of your history, all of what you have done, okay? It chronicalizes all that. So now to say that this is Black history and we have taken the chronicles and we have reviewed the chronicles and said, okay, they left this out because they forgot to tell this. And then we got paperwork to say, here, this is what they forgot to tell. When we go through and say, okay, yeah, they forgot to tell this, and this. When we go through and tell about what happened with the mother country, Miss Africa, honey, and the continent of Africa, okay, and all of the 50 some odd countries that are within on that continent, okay. And when we start to talk, it becomes an issue. And I'm trying to understand, what are you afraid of when we talk Black history, when we talk what's going on? What are you afraid of when we talk about and here? It seems as though you get upset when we talk about history that happened right here in America. We don't talk about. Let's take Africa off the table for a minute. Everything that you talk about banning, y'all have sat down and allowed for Florida and allowed for other states to do away with their advanced studies African American history programs. You have let them do away with the books and stuff that talks about. Ooh, that talks about what that history was. Now, it's very funny that we have not banned all of the books that have the word nigger in it, since you don't want folks to feel afraid or want white kids to feel sad about something that happened and don't want them to feel as though, we're blaming them and carrying on. But isn't it awfully interesting that the onus of not wanting anybody to feel bad and upset comes upon little white children, as Condoleezza Rice said once, and others who there's a number of other people who said it, but it was Condoleezza Rice that's in my ear that resonates when she said, we don't want little white children coming to school and feeling as though to learn history was going to be a bad thing because they were going to feel sad and bad and da 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 da. But never once have we heard anything about little Black kids, little Mexican kids, little Asian kids, honey, little Jewish kids or whatever. Whenever they came to school to learn about history, and they had to hear all of the atrocities that went on in the history, we never once concerned ourselves with the feelings of those particular children. And that there is becoming a sore spot to me, because as great as America wants to be, yeah, and I say it like that, as great as America wants to be, and the power that we hold within all the other countries across the world, for us to be the greatest superpower, Yet, we do not want to establish and let folks here learn about our history. Now, isn't it obvious? I mean, well, not obvious, but isn't it ironic that new Americans who come to this town, they learn everything about American history. They learn it all. Because in order for them to qualify to get their documentation to say, yes, I'm a legalized citizen, they have to go through all of American history. Now, isn't that something? Isn't that something? Because they can tell us about stuff that we don't want to teach. Why is that? Why is it that we're having issues with anything that deals with Black history? Why is it that you still are scared about anything about LGBT in a book? What is it about that scares you? And I'll tell you what it is, according to how my mind processes. I really and truly believe that many of you do not want to have the conversations because you don't know how to have them. You don't know where to start. You don't have any answers. And you don't know why the why is, because you don't want your children to come up there and ask you, well, why did this happen? And why did that happen? But those of you who are descendants of slave owners, you do not have the why this is going on, because you know children are going to come up and ask why. For those of you who are evangelicals, and the only thing you can say is because they sin and they got the devil, you do not want to answer the question of why does this exist? And so it puts you in a peculiar situation. And instead of you going to educate yourselves, you choose not to. But instead, you just want to close the books. You want to sit there and say, oh my God, this is filth and foreign, and carrying on, and you're on your way. All right? It is absolutely unnerving to me that a teacher got fired here, about a couple of weeks ago. A teacher got fired because she read a book, and within the book, it was discussing gender roles or something, and whatever would happen. And because the book was fluid, I'm going to say fluidity, but it was fluid in discussing that or whatever, she got fired because they talking about that book was not approved on the list or whatever the case may be, but it was in the school library. Number one. Number two, they were saying, no, what happened was this was not part of her lesson plan or whatever, and she just arbitrarily threw this up in here to, and I don't like arbitration like that, because if you're doing stuff just to prove a point, honey, then that means then you end up becoming what they say is happening. Those kind of stunts become what they say is happening, that we're trying to run an agenda. And we're trying to sit up there and usurp everything and just want to take over and take over. But there's a way to go about doing that to where folks do not feel threatened. But we have got to learn how to exercise that. Okay. At the same time of exercising how not to let other people feel threatened, other people have got to be willing to want to be educated. Other people have to be willing to say, well, it's time to have this conversation, versus throwing their hands up, walking out, I don't want to hear about that shit, and making it something that it's not. You know what I'm saying? Now, it's one thing to say, I'm not interested in it, because there's just some things that just don't interest you. It's another thing when we just avoid the conversation altogether because you think that it has nothing to do with you, or it's wrong in the eyes of who? God, you, your family, whatever. You think it's stupid. You think it's this. Whatever that is. If you just refuse to open up your mind and say, hey, let me at least learn something about it so that I can know what it is. I ain't got to agree. Then let me know what it is. You understand? I'm getting real sick and tired of all of this. And I'm getting tired because this is my generation wanting to put all these damn standards out there, like we forgot what it was to be kids. Like we forgot what it was when we talked about sex, when we talk about orientations and carrying on, when we talked about all of that, how many of us were devastated when we heard the first time we heard the term transsexual in our lives back in 1982, when Teddy Pendergrass had the car accident with the transsexual in the car. Now, for most of it, y'all don't like to listen. That's history. Now, Teddy is dead and gone and carrying on. The young lady who was in the car, I saw where is she now up on YouTube, and or was it on Oprah's website, whatever it was. I saw her, and she was saying that no, that was not the case. That they were friends and whatever. She basically debunked a lot of the rumor and stuff that was going around. At the same time, that hey, Jet Magazine had put it up in there just as big as proud as ever. Transsexual. Okay. So now what? I'm not supposed to read the magazine because it talks about that was an adult topic. I'm 12 years old, honey. We get magazines. We got the Jet all the time. And what do you do when you don't know something? We come from the day, look it up. Okay. We come from the day. Anytime you come across a word that you do not understand, you go look it up. So this is how we educated ourselves. So now that I got questions, I'm like, okay, well, what is transsexual? This is somebody who was born one way and is changing their sex to live another way. Wow. Wow. That was the fascination. But that's when I was 12. This is back in 1982. Okay, now fast forward, honey. We got all this stuff at the drop of a fingertip, honey. And a click of a mouse, click, 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 click. Kids can get information to any and everything. You see what's going on with these guns. They're learning how to make dummy guns and not dummy guns. What they call them? The build a gun and carrying on to where it has no serial numbers on this stuff. Kids are learning a lot off of clicks. But you're scared to have a conversation. You're scared to sit there and let your children know what's going on. You want to blame a school system. And most of the ones that are doing a lot of the complaining, I am willing to bet, are the same ones that really don't spend a lot of time with their children, and for whatever reason, either circumstances, honey, or just, because you just don't. Maybe you at work all the time and, you drop the kids off because, okay, by the time you get out of school, I get out of work, I come pick you up, I'll meet you at the house, then it's time for dinner, blah, 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 blah. Whatever that is. But a lot of people who are making the fuss usually are the ones who don't spend a lot of time with their kids, and from what I'm gathering. And those of you who are, I'm still sticking with my first statement. Y'all don't want to have that conversation. Oh, that don't go on in my house. Oh, I've never understood this. Why? You see what the world is every time you step out your door, every time you watch the news, every time you do anything in this world, you see that you are not the only one here. You see that other people have lives that we must all learn to coexist. You don't have to agree. You don't even have to interact with them, but you see what's going on. So what is it about history or education period that scares you? Because see, I had to say this earlier today with someone. He sent me this I'm smacking my lips. I just give him one. Okay, like I'm cracking gum and carrying on. He sent me a little meme, and somebody, I don't know this child's name, he over in Africa going to the Ghana Music Awards or whatever that is. Okay, I guess this is their version of the Grammys or whatever. He's on their red carpet, and he has on this corset and this so-called bustier type thing, honey. He still have his beard and mustache, thick old beard and mustache. He's stood there half walking in some pumps. He got a purse, and he's putting pink lipstick on his lips, and this, that, and the other. And so he sent me that and asked, tell me, how is it that trans women are equal to biological women? And I had to correct him with that. I said, don't do that. I said, this here is not trans. This here, he says in the caption, I'm having fun at the awards. So he said that in the caption. Don't misconstrue what goes on with transgender children because we have allowed a world to sit down and dictate and say, oh, well, just because I feel this way, I am. And you think that it's just so simple that all I got to do is put on a piece of hair, shave or not shave my mustache, put on some pumps, a bustier, some women's panties, and some lipstick. And oh, wow, I'm a woman. And it don't work like that. It doesn't work like that. And most folks are so busy wanting to send that narrative out there to where that's your fear. It's one thing for someone to be a very feminine child or whatever, operating in feminine energy, but it's a whole nother thing to be a woman. Okay, my allergies are going. I keep popping, so I got this itch in the back of my throat. Um, that's a whole nother thing. And those, I just did it, those who are of trans experience, they are never equal to biological women because the journey is different. They're only equal in the fact that everybody's human beings. That's where it stops. Because biological women, they're biologically one way. Their bodies have been made one way with fallopian tubes, ovaries, and et cetera, et cetera. The internal stuff that makes them female. We've had this discussion before. Trans women, their road to trans experience or to being a trans woman is different, but yet they have a rite of passage too. No, they did not have their periods, when they were in school. All of a sudden, it just happened. You got to find out what maxi pads and stuff are. They didn't have that experience, but they do know what it is to wear when they start hormonal treatments, what it is to have hormone swings or whatever. Why I'm upset here and there and carrying on. They do understand that when their breasts start to develop, that core, that knot that comes when usually girls get at teenagers, yeah, when your titties start to develop, that knot still grows like it does. And so they had to get to a point to where they pop and fill out. So they got to go through the whole idea of training bras or whatever. Yes, there's processes and steps to this thing. It's just not oh my God, I feel this way. Now I got no. And for the world to want to accept that, for the world to want to let that be the narrative, this is why we can never achieve matriculation because we're so busy stuck in I don't like it, I don't agree with it, so it must be right because I just don't get it. Okay, I just don't get it. Well, that's not your experience to get. You understand? For those of you who are non-melanated, honey, you never understand how someone who is melanated in this country moves through because of what the laws have said, because of what society has done. And for those of you who sit up there and say, oh, here we go again, y'all trying to blame this on your skin color. No, we don't blame it on it. What we do is you're the ones, your ancestors, those of you who still, I'm not going to, listen, wait a minute, let me take ancestors out of that. I'm going to go right now. I'm going to go into the right now. Okay? Because just because of someone's skin color, honey, it speaks for itself. How you treat one another, because see, now your whole idea of racism and carrying on is based on statistics. Y'all got all these different little clips and stuff that y'all love to see. Y'all love to say that all the looters and stuff are black and carrying on, but y'all don't like to show the white children when they do all that. When the white children do it, honey, they do it in the realms of celebrating because their team won the Super Bowl or their team won the playoffs or whatever. And white kids up there and tear up a neighborhood, flipping over cars, putting shit on fire because the team won. That's them being happy. But we don't talk about that. That's the stuff we don't talk about. Okay. And that's now. Okay, let me add this in here because I'm going to pull all this together because let's look at the indictment that just happened a couple of days ago. All 18 of those children that came through right here in Georgia to be indicted and turn themselves in and carrying on, correct? Why is it that the only black man that's in here is two African American people? The girl, she got hers and hid it. The black man, the only one who is a voice for Trump, Black Voices for Trump, founder of that, he's the only one that's still in jail right now. The only one. Because number one, he didn't, they say he didn't negotiate his bond and this, that, and the other prior to going down there and carrying on. Now they're saying he can't afford an attorney and this, that, and the other. Whatever that was, he didn't meet the guidelines of being able to get a public defender. So he can't do that. But yet here's the tea. You are a black voice for Trump. Where are the other black voices for Trump to sit there and say, hey, that's one of ours. We need to get him out of there, blah, 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 blah. Ain't nobody came up with resources, nothing. I was just listening to a podcaster, and her thing was, Donald and all the other 17, they're like, oh, honey, ain't nobody up there saying, listen, we're going to put it together. We're going to write you a check. We make sure you get up out of here. But nobody has said nothing. No, ain't nobody came with an attorney yet. Nothing. The only black man in this whole conglomerate, and yet he's the only one in jail. And even the Trump supporters, according to her, she said that there's a GoFundMe that he got to raise $100,000 or whatever. Just say he only raised just under $5,000. Nobody's even coming to this man's defense, and y'all sit there and want to say this is your hero, honey, Trump for 2024 and all of that. But none of y'all have went to his defense, and he's supposedly one of the black voices for Trump. Nobody has done it. For real? For real, for real. Wow. Now that speaks volumes. Now you can sit there and say, oh, don't put the race in it, but what else do you do? Started off black voices for Trump. That's how it starts. That's how it starts. So automatically the race is there because at the time, black folks who believed in Trump's message and carrying on that, they stood behind him. I ain't gonna fall for that. Ignorant, but I'm concerned, but that's just a personal opinion. Okay, a personal one. Okay, it's not based in fact or whatever. It's here, just a personal opinion. But so we got them. But none of those folks have come to the rescue. None, at least not yet. Everybody else, honey, have been in and out of that damn jail, honey, within an hour. From the time they got there to the time they left, within an hour's time. Children would have been in and out. In and out. So when we talk about what our education system is, when y'all want to talk about, the woke population, this woke community, everybody trying to stay woke. Do you even know what that means? Do you? What does it mean to be woke? Well, let's look at it. When you wake up, let's take it from the basic carnal understanding of it. When you wake up, what happens? That means that your mind is alive. You are in the present tense. Your fingertips and all of your joints and organs, everything is working correctly. Everything is working properly. You can inhale and you can exhale the breath of life because it's working properly. You get up for all of your eliminations and carry it on because that's to let your body know that everything is functioning properly. And while you were sleeping, it did its cleanse so that it needed to release. Okay? So that's being woke. You're understanding that my mind is clear. I can see clearly. I can see clearly what is going on. I can not only see it, but I can also ascertain it. I can glean what I need to glean from it that's going to work in my life. I can see bullshit when I see bullshit. So that way I know how to navigate myself through. Okay. To say, I mean, even to say it now, you better wake up and smell the coffee. Okay. That used to be an old saying. But that there was to get you to get your mind to think, look outside of the box, because you're so busy here to where you're missing out on the world around you, and everything is right there in your face. But you're the one who choose to go through with rose-colored glasses on. But because of that particular statement, and because how it has evolved, to say woke, it has become a political term now. Oh, that's the woke community, you know. And so it's a fight on the woke community. It's a fight on LGBT. Because y'all hear me say that all the time, honey. We're no longer people. We are fucking demographic. Okay. And because of this demographic, now it done got the world into a whole big old thing about, oh my God, they're trying to do this. But yet you refuse to educate yourself on what's going on for real. So why does education scare people? What is it about educating yourself that scares you? Is it the accountability? Because the price for education is being accountable. You do understand that, right? It's not necessarily free. There is a price, and that there becomes accountability. Maya, we quote this all the time. When you know better, you do better. Do we? Do we actually do better? Because a lot of times what we do when we get information, we hoard it. We don't do right by it or whatever. We weaponize it. You understand? And yet we're in these particular places. I'm trying to get, why are you so scared of education, people? What you think? Oh, y'all think that black folks gonna rile up and we gonna do to y'all what y'all did to us. I've had somebody say that. What's funny? And I wish I can find this too, because they got those online news reporters, right? They got their own little YouTube pages and carrying on. And right during the first time of going through this Trump being on the ballot and carrying on, he was campaigning. A guy was in like the rural parts of the world, right? And I dare say he was down here in Georgia. And that's what came out the woman's mouth. She was afraid to have a black president. No. I'm sorry. That was Obama. Okay. It was Obama. Not Trump. This was Obama. She was afraid to have a black president because she thinks that once we had a black president, that then the blacks were going to rile up and do to us what we did to them. That's what she said. Okay. And I was like, wow. Folks absolutely believe that. So of course they're trying to keep the power dynamic within the same paradigm. Okay. But when we have a paradigm shift, when everything is blown off its axis and shifts, folks don't know how to take that. Look at how you activate in your own lives when all of a sudden you get that, there's something that knocks you out the water. Okay, or at least off your square. And you're like, okay, wait a minute, hold on. And sometimes we're able to regroup. Oftentimes, honey, we're not. So we acquiesce to what's going on around us and we assimilate because we have no fight. Often. Okay. So now what does that mean? Okay. What does that mean? Oftentimes, when the pressure gets on us, there are those of us who can't function. And so we give in because they done took, okay, they done fired you from your job, they froze your bank accounts, they threatening your kids, they firebombing your house. Okay. All of those things to make sure you understand who's what. So either you're going to stay strong, find you some allies, or you're going to break. And that's something that we've been dealing with for far too long. Far too long. And so those are still the same stories you don't want to tell. How can you go back and let's look at television? How do you go through a whole TV series and not have any black characters? You in a position to where there are no black neighbors. You're nothing. Nothing about your TV show says anything about the world in which you live in, or does it? Or does it? Maybe you created your utopia to where all you want is, your own kind around. Now, see, when black folks do it, when we get our own little shows or whatever, what ends up happening? We always say, we got our program, but damn, they always got to get a white person in there. We just can't have nothing to ourselves. There's always a white person somewhere. But if I want to sit down and to mirror what the world is, because listen, as a gay person, I tell folks all the time, honey, the bills don't come in damn rainbow. Bills don't come in rainbow at this house. All I know is that they come. And when they come, they expect to be paid. You hear? I'm finna say something. I like that. And I'm going to say it anyway because it's me. But it's just like working with a prostitute, honey. Just like working with a prostitute, baby. You get your nut, honey. Okay, where's my coin? But most of the girls get their coin up front. So you don't dip out. Okay, but so I'm gonna use that for those children who got automatic payment. You set your account up to where it just goes out automatically. Okay. So what does that mean to us? Why are we scared of educating ourselves? Why are we scared? Why? It makes no sense, people. I'm really tired. I'm tired of folks using the kids as the argument. Oh, I don't want my child. I don't want, no, you don't want you. Because kids are resilient. Honey, God's sending them down here being able to handle what's going on. He had to, or she had to, because of the world that we live in. Kids coming out today, baby, shit, they could do a Rubik's Cube and program a computer or at least a TV or whatever at the same time. So what are we afraid of when it comes to education? Are y'all afraid to see that the government that we love so much, has a lot of flaws in it as well? Y'all don't want to see that because y'all keep talking about how great it is, but we also know the pitfalls and the shortcomings because they're human. And then they want to sit down there and lie about it all the time as if everything is supposed to be perfection. And then everybody want to campaign and say, oh, I'm so transparent. Really? Because transparency becomes another one of them do-good words. Okay, that's a feel-good word. Oh, we fighting on transparency. Okay, let's see how transparent you are. And this ain't got nothing to do with your personal life, honey. This is about what your work ethic is. You understand? I get frustrated, people. I just get frustrated when we sit down and talk about education, when we sit down and talk about our children, when we sit down and talk about these damn indictments, honey. This here is just absolutely making no sense. And I can't make it up to make sense because it's like, damn, what do I do? As a human being, when you look at your shortcomings, do you always question yourself and say, okay, how am I here? I don't fit in anywhere. And the times that I do fit in is because I made myself fit in, because I dimmed my light, or I cowered down a little bit so that folks don't see the real and all of me, because they won't accept me when they see me in my truth. They won't accept me. You understand? And that fear of that fear is what I think runs this world. We're afraid to be ourselves. We're afraid to let your hair hang down. And then we get mad at those who are. Girl, stop all that wiggling, honey. You tell them they're going to invite unwanted attention. You're sitting around being a hussy and a skank. The lesser of the two evils, huh? Is that what we got going on? I don't know. I have no clue. I have no clue because I swear if I can take and just bottle whatever this thing is, just bottle it. I don't know. They probably won't even drink it. They probably take the bottles and smash each other upside the damn head. Well, I'm going to let y'all go. Because I'm sitting up here now. I'm finding myself starting to ramble on a couple of things. And I never want to ramble like that. I want y'all to understand what's going on. So, honey, I am Big Meach. And this here is a Big Meach moment. Resolved that the citizens, neighbors, and stakeholders of College Park should exercise their voting power and elect into office a leader that will treat the city as a whole city and not by individual wards, accept the ideas of its citizenry respectfully, is willing to have political agendas and critical yet passionate ideologies challenged, and will not only listen to the people, but amplify their voices in true power so that College Park can be the city they have decreed it to be and to become.